Inventing a skateboard trick is difficult enough, but this man home makes boards that are part of the tricks themselves.
The most difficult board I've worked on was the tri-fold 360 flip I did recently. Yeah, that one I had to make at least 5 iterations of the board, and it would constantly break.
Meet Matt Tomasello, professional skateboarder and amateur engineer, reinventing the sport with a unique approach.
I think the board modification just adds a layer of complexity that kind of steps away from competitive skateboarding and more into like an art form. It's definitely, to me, the most interesting skateboarding. There are no rules. Probably skateboard as long as I can physically do it.
Now to fall on the ground. Oh boy.
Matt spends countless hours testing any of his 50-plus boards, all in a space as DIY as his own work.
This is a semi-abandoned parking lot. Me and my friends built some ramps here to skate on.
This one did not take me long to make, but it took me forever to land the trick that I intended to do with it. You do half a flip, and then it does 1.5 flips back. When I land on it upside down, or it hits the ground upside down, it pops, and it can. Oh God. I knew that was gonna happen too. I wanted to design a board where the truck goes around the entire skateboard. There's one spring-loaded hinge that should just propel the truck around the board. This one took a while to figure out. It freely flips both ways. Done a few tricks where both sides flip at the same time, and sometimes in opposite directions. This one's probably my favorite. I honestly would rather destroy my body. I'm awkward.
As far as like taking a beating, the board will usually break before I'm physically harmed enough to stop. I think falling is like the most important trick in skateboarding. It's an inevitable thing that's gonna happen. If you learn how to fall correctly, then you're gonna be able to just keep trying.
Always looking to test a new idea, Matt volunteered to engineer a new board from scratch in his bedroom workshop.
So this is my room. This is where I do my building. Yeah, I got a little workbench over here and giant stack of boards, usually donated from local skateboarders and friends. So I've been thinking about this board where half of the board falls down on cables and a lever brings it back up before you land.
I have a sketchbook with a bunch of my old stuff, but lately I've just been building like rough drafts. Sketching it is way harder. I wish I had like a CAD program I could just test the physics on, but maybe I'll get there one day. Sometimes I get inspiration if I see a machine, or one of the boards I got inspiration by seeing a gate in somebody's backyard. Draw a line, I think it needs to be cut. I decide where to cut based on how long the lever is and how much time I have for the board to come back together. Because usually working with anywhere from like a half a second to 2 maximum. But if it's just flat ground trick in the air, you really only have like a half a second, quarters of a second. I've calculated it. Nothing needs to be perfect, it just needs to work once. Have a spare nose, might as well use it instead of cutting up a new one. Reduce, reuse. So they overlap because this would never hold anyone. It's all a balancing act, like weight distribution from the front truck to the back truck. Nothing's gonna work if there's anything in between that can fold in. Now I'm just gonna drill the holes where the cabling's gonna go. Probably spent like hundreds of hours building different boards in here, just tinkering with things. The first board I built, I think it was just a single hinge attached to the truck. A pop in the momentum causes it to do a heel flip late. I saw the physics get altered from the moving part, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. You can use it to your advantage. I've been in Boston my whole life. There's not many spots to skateboard, so you gotta work with what you got. I think that's just natural progression. How can I find a way to adapt to my environment and make it interesting?
This is the self-Nodus board. There's this trick on a skateboard called the Nodus spin, invented by Nodus Kappas. He ollied onto a fire hydrant and grabbed a pole and spun around. And this is like way, way back. Yo, Andy, what year did Nodus do the Nodus spin? Okay. This one, when you ollie, the back truck is attached to a metal bracket. You can stall and you can spin around, even manual, down a bank. This one just took a while to figure out the proper angle for the stop on the L brackets and spring load tension, because you want it to lock it as soon as you're at the peak of your ollie, because otherwise it's gonna kick back and then just fold right back under. This board is kind of like a book, I guess. The only trick I've ever done on this is a kickflip where in the air it will open and close. The momentum of it closing kind of finishes the last like quarter of the flip. It's pretty impractical for anything else. This one actually did not take me long to make. It's just cut in half with a spring-loaded hinge. Essentially just wind it up, and you do a trick, just release. You can flip the front or the back, depending on where your foot is. You can adjust the tension so it'll close faster or slower, depending on the trick. The other ones you saw, where it was mostly like flipping 2 coins, the timing, it's impossible to stop it. This one's actually more on track. Still working on this one. It's supposed to do 1.5 flips and then bounce off these compression springs. Can't quite figure out the timing of it. Still a work in progress.
My success rate is probably, I'd say about 20%, maybe 25. I'm gonna build a lever. Luckily I have some leftover parts for that. We're gonna use some metal cabling to bring back the second half of the board. Threading the cabling through the holes, giving it its track to reel back on. My foot will essentially be on the lever while I'm doing the trick, and then it's going to slide off. The reel is going to retract when the lever closes, and that's what's going to cause the board to come back together. So now I'm just securing the cabling. This clamp I made out of some old metal brackets, but it doesn't come flying off. Now I'm going to set the tension of the spring, control how fast it's going to close, and I usually adjust it like at the spot, based on, you know, how long the trick's taking. Not bad at all.
With his success rate in mind, Matt returned to the skate park, hopeful to make his new creation work.
So we're at the skate spot. Just gonna try this board out. I'm gonna try to slide down here, have the board drop while sliding, then reel back up right away. Oh my God. Yeah, I can't get over it. I need weight in the front. Might just have to take a different approach at it. That was close. Blunt slide didn't work, but luckily 5-0 worked out. I think that's it.
No matter how many tries his boards can take, Matt loves the freedom of the process.
They're trying to make rules in the Olympics and everything, but you can do absolutely whatever you want. Nobody can throw a flag on the field and say, you know, you didn't do it right.